What is Shinto? Interesting question, and something a foreigner to Japan can't easily answer, but I'll give it a shot whilst walking around some of the most famous shrines of Japan, and also visiting some of the smallest. During this video I'll walk around Takeda Shrine in Yamanashi and talk about the origin story for Shinto. It's a bit weird and messed up in many ways. Firstly, Shinto revolves around the concept of animism, a concept that believes that even inanimate objects such as rocks or trees have a soul or a spirit attached to them. These spirits can either help or hinder humans. These spirits are known as kami. The Shinto creation story is unique. According to Shinto, everything already existed, but it was in chaos. And then for no reason, a bunch of kami, gods, spirits, whatever you want to call them, came into existence and created the earth and the sky. The two most important kami that were created were Izanagi and Izanami, brother and sister. The other kami gave the siblings a spear to defend themselves. When the spear touched the water, it created the main island of Japan, which is called Honshu, and is what most of you can see on the map. The story then gets a bit odd. The siblings then had some kids, the first of which was Haruko, who was so ugly she was just abandoned and left to die. Ebisu was also abandoned and thrown in the sea, but he had a slightly better outcome. He even ended up getting his own beer brand in the end. The other children became the other islands of Japan: Kyushu, my favourite place in Japan, Hokkaido, Shikoku, amongst the other hundreds of islands. Whilst Izanami was giving birth to the kami of fire, she died in childbirth because the kami of fire burnt her so badly. Izanagi was so angry he beheaded the child, bit of an overreaction if you ask me, which in turn made a bunch more less powerful kami. Upon dying, Izanami moved to Yomi, the land of the dead. Izanagi, grief-stricken, went to Yomi to find her. However, she'd already eaten the fruit of the dead and was stuck in Yomi. Eating the fruit of death is a euphemism for acceptance of death. She asked Izanagi to wait for her while she arranged to get out from Yomi with the rulers of Yomi, but Izanagi was not to try and find her, and definitely not to look at her if he did find her. Like most blokes, he got impatient, went into Yomi to look for her. Unfortunately, he should have listened to his wife, because he found her, but she was dead and decomposing. He'd be like, "What? She's all messed up and full of maggots." He freaked out and tried to escape the land of the dead. Izanami got a bit angry that he didn't listen and tried to keep Izanagi in Yomi, but he managed to escape. He used a peach as a kind of hand grenade which messed up Izanami and her chasing demons. This is why peaches are classed as a spiritual fruit in Japan. And to be honest, they are really pretty tasty here. As part of the escape, he created a permanent barrier between the land of the living and the land of the dead. According to legend, this barrier is in Izumo, and it's a pretty big shrine worth visiting. After escaping from Yomi, Izanagi felt so impure from being in Yomi, he cleansed himself in the ocean. This process of purification and cleanliness is central to Shinto. In the process of purifying himself in the ocean, he created some more new and pretty powerful kami: Amaterasu, Susanoo, and Tsukiyomi no Mikoto. Eventually, Izanagi chose the kami Amaterasu to rule the world. Amaterasu is the kami of the sun. The imperial family are supposed to be descendants of Amaterasu, and up until the US defeat in World War II, the emperor was deemed to be divine. This pretty Japanese here Hello Kitty statue and an electric omikuji machine. Omikuji is a bit like a horoscope in a newspaper. Pay 100 yen, get a piece of paper, and find out if you're doomed or not. Shinto is believed to have originated in prehistoric times. Despite it being so ancient, it still holds a super important place in social, political, and personal lives of the Japanese. The ancient Shinto had no dogma, sacred writing, or text, but was a way to worship natural things such as the earth, rivers, and the sky. I guess this makes sense in a country with frequent earthquakes, tsunami, and typhoons that the ancient Japanese would not have been able to explain. Around the 8th century, a monk called Kukai returned from China and amalgamated Shinto, Buddhism, and Confucianism. Under this new religion, the principles of Buddhism became more prevalent than those of Shinto. To this day, many shrines and temples in Japan share features, and many of them are difficult to tell if they are Buddhist or Shinto. Around the 9th century, the emperor faced threats from the northern Ezo tribes. To combat this, the emperor created a warrior clan of shoguns. Although the emperor was the spiritual and sovereign head of state, the shoguns held all the power. There's a pretty good series on Netflix about this. At the beginning of the 18th century, the shogunate was overthrown and power returned to the emperor. Based on ancient beliefs, the emperor was a living kami, because of the power given to him by Omikami Amaterasu, the god's son, who is believed to have formed Japan. This period started what is known as Shinbutsu-bunri, or simply separation. Until this time, the Shinto and Buddhism coexisted, often sharing the same site for temples and shrines, but this era forced the separation of the two religions enforced by the Meiji government. Interestingly, it was a form of religious nationalism. During Shinbutsu-bunri, Shinto split into two sects and hundreds of new shrines were built: Sectarian Shinto and Imperial Shinto. Imperial Shinto took a bit of a knock in 1945, for obvious reasons, when in the aftermath of the Second World War, the emperor was forced by the Americans to relinquish his claim to divinity. Sectarian Shinto, however, had a great time and is now treated on a par with Buddhism in Japan. In future videos, I'll tour other famous and unknown shrines and discuss the curious symbolisms and rituals associated with Shinto. At the shrine, there's a pretty cool museum just in front of it. They have this video tour at the end, which has a couple of projectors, one that shows the story and one that shows on a table in front of you. It's definitely worth the 300 yen to visit this. With that, have a good day.